By the end of this video, we're going to circle back around to Lenz's law and how this explains the plasma fires, anti-gravitational technology, and how magnetics produces electricity and electricity produces magnetism. This is a little version of that before these were available for 1995, a high school project we made by passing magnets through the cigar tube with the copper coil wrapped around it. It lights up the lights. We'll discuss this in greater detail. Along with James Grundvig, field-activated combustion synthesis, his explanation of the plasma fires, and Skywatch Media, how a fluctuation in magnetic field produces a surge in ground current. Now what this is illustrating is what we're going to watch a demonstration of on the screen, where a magnet passes through a copper tube and produces an anti-gravitational effect because the magnetism passes through the copper and creates electricity. Coming back through, the electricity passes through the copper and creates magnetism of a reverse polarity. All you need is an amplifier right here to create a cylindrical shaped anti-gravitational device. Or if you're looking at the Earth's magnetic field, all you have to do is short it out and use the ground as the copper tube to pass the magnetism through the copper. Magnetism goes through copper and creates electricity. So if it goes through the ground and uses the ground like the copper, it creates electricity. And with the weakening magnetic field on the brink of pole shift, it's real easy to do and it happens naturally. So since we're on the subject, let's watch this demonstration of Lenz's law. Took 0.02 seconds. 4 seconds. 'Watch it. This is the anti-gravitational UFO floating down. Doesn't that look just like how a UFO floats down to the ground? But first we got to cover the sun simulator, because Mr. MB3 finally manned up. You see him down there in the bottom corner? This is from one of his most recent videos. And the key that is most convincing to me that what Mr. MB3 shows you here, and I've seen elsewhere that has convinced me of the sun simulator, is when the black dot reflects off water and the ripples in the water often send it in 15 different directions, and the ripple effect on the black dot creates an effect that convinces me that can't be camera light sensor overload, or it would be the same circular shape as this. In his picture, what you can see is that it splits it into 2 different black dots, perfectly even with this wave. There's a wave running right here. But when the water's so choppy from wind or boats going different directions that the waves and the ripples go all different directions, you'll see this black dot ripple in all different directions, which convinces me, along with the fact that you can see it reflecting off of car windows and other things, but even at the car window or a flat surface, a person could tell themselves, well, that's still overloading the camera with light, even on the reflection. But when that black dot ripples on the water, that means it's absolutely not camera overload, and you are seeing what's actually in the sky. Not to mention, he shows the hexagonal shape of this. There's a side right there. There's a side right there. It's got a flat bottom and a flat top. Here he says the black dot should not be there, but is. And I'm going to walk you through some of the language he uses to offer wiggle room for people to lighten the load and soften the blow that he's delivering to them here. But if we zoom in on the reflection of the black dot here, you can see that it's separated into two with a little bit in the middle and a hexagonal shape to that center point. And so there's good reason to believe that this is approximately what that sun simulator looks like. This would be the black dot in the center, and this would be also the hexagonal black center. Technical difficulties, folks. We're content rich here, not exactly a well-crafted presentation. But we're also going to look at some content by Extreme Reality Check, and you can see she's highlighting the same hexagonal shape in the center of this sun simulator and showing you the reflection of it that's been caught in the sky multiple times. And she's tying it in with LiFi, which I've been covering, the blue light they put in the mouse's head, optogenetics, in a recent video. So there's a better look at what we were just talking about. I'll leave the link in the description for this video. And for you Christians, you'll like it because she wraps it up and gets pretty Christy with it. She got the Christ force. She shows you the sun simulator in Germany that I've referenced before by SYNLITE. That's a guy working on the bulbs. Those are some guys standing in front of him. Again, that's a shot of it projecting up in the sky. That's another couple guys on the man lift changing bulbs. She talks about the LiFi. And how this could be related to the sun god and explain why there was so many sun-worshipping religions. And we're going to watch some of these captures where there's two suns and there's a similarity. One is a glare glob and the other one's a perfect circle by Last Messages, who took a hiatus for about a year after getting suckered into the coronavirus stuff. We'll talk about that later. She says the two suns phenomenon is increasing everywhere in the past weeks. The weird skies presented in the series are biblical signs of the coming from both sides, good and evil. These biblical signs teach us that we are entering the last days. Repent, learn to love. God forgives a loving children. If your heart beats, God is telling you it's not too late. Love, just learn to love. And as far as repent, I've explained before that that's the same as the cleaning out your closet, making amends in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now you can see the one on the right is a glare glob. The one on the left is a perfect circle. Again, a glare glob on the right, perfect circle of a sun on the left. And there's other examples of this she's about to show. Link will be in the description. Notice the perfect circle on the left and the glare glob on the right. That's what Final Days. So now this is a different version of the same thing. Glare glob is on the left, perfect circle on the right. Glare glob is on the bottom, perfect circle above. This one's in Iceland. These are all different examples of the same thing, slightly different positioning between the perfectly circular one with finely defined borders and the one that's a glare glob. There's another version, same thing. Glare glob to the bottom left, perfect circle to the upper right. Now they both went glare glob on us. Notice the sun is passing in front of those clouds. That's what she's showing you here. The sun should not be in front of the clouds. And I've seen this before and thought it was an optical illusion, but there's more and more reason to think it could be. Notice here, there's a sun or a light source down low, and another one up. Oop. A light source down here below the horizon, and another one up here. That's more of a white. One is yellow, one is white. Again, there's an extra blob up here that's being camouflaged by all the chemicals. This one, like a plasma blob on the opposite side of the horizon than where the sunset is. And these are all from like the last month. What's behind the blob? That's a different version. Same phenomenon, different place. That one wasn't in Vegas. And as a final gravy connoisseurs edition, guy sent me some photos where he appears to have caught light bands or gravity waves or whatever these are in the mirror. And you can see that they're perfectly spaced. That's some of the close-ups I go over. Let me find my little pointer here. You can see that they are perfectly spaced apart from one another. And below them is a second set of band waves that are also perfectly spaced apart from one another. And the peak of this wave meets the trough of that wave. Same thing on these other sets of waves where I'll zoom in and show you closer. And there's something else about these waves. Here you can see his countertop. And there's no way you could wipe with a rag. I was thinking how'd this happen? In the manufacturing process of the mirror, maybe? And you can only see it at a certain time of year, when the sun's at a certain angle. But you zoom in and you can see a lot of these specks within the light waves. And they all have a mirror image. Like you can see the one that's in the air that got picked up by the camera, and you can see the reflection of it in the mirror. There's a good example. There's many duplicates. Like this one looks like a little dragonfly. There's a second dragonfly by it. This process will repeat over and over. There's one, there's its pair. This is the dragonfly we just looked at. Almost everywhere else where you look, there's a duplicate. There's one, there's its duplicate. There's one, there's its duplicate. And eventually there's one or two where I zoom out and you can see like 6 pairs. All right, I think we've already looked at those. There's a pair here and a pair there, and maybe that's a pair with that. I'm not even showing you the pair up top because I got it zoomed in too far. So you can see that whatever's in these light waves has its, and this is the part right above his chair. You notice all the extra sprinkle of speckles of light all around this intense rip in the field. I don't know what to call it. But that's a cropped in, a zoomed in shot. Of part of the photo that he sent me that you can see in the larger versions. Just above the chair there's a light band. So it's when I zoom into these waves, and I could probably just zoom in right here, freehand, to show you all the pairs. There's pairs all over in here. That pair and that pair. There's a pair in the center screen. So he told me he sent this to some people that he expected would be able to explain it, and they haven't really gotten back to him with anything. So this is kind of my getting back to him with my analysis. Something going on right there. So like here, before I even zoom in, I can see a double dot there and a double dot here. The two dots here match the two dots there. So there is some sort of mirror imaging going on here. So what I'm thinking is one of the sets is actually in the air in front of the mirror, and the other one is the reflection of it in the mirror. But before we breeze over it, as you can see, we got a lot of gravy to get through here. This is the thumbnail for Mr. MB3's video, where he shows the reflection of the sun and a direct shot of the sun. And in the video, when the person's filming and they go from the reflection and then film and turn the camera up directly at the sun, he goes, "Now that's always been there." And blah, 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 for at least a decade or more. And before, he says, "I don't remember ever seeing this before, 10, 12 years ago." And on the thumbnail, as you can see, "This never used to be there," is in the title. So he goes back and forth from "this never used to be there" to "this has always been there," to give people that mental plasticity who need a little flexibility to adjust. He starts out by saying, "We're going to revisit an old topic." Oh, well, then it's an old news. Why are you bringing up old stuff, man? And he says things like, "It's been that way for 10, 12 years. So people have that ability to go, "Oh, well, then nothing's new and different. If it's been that way for a decade or more, then nothing's changed and there's nothing to worry about."
Well, and having a great day. In this video, we're going to revisit an old topic. I haven't touched on this in quite some time. I've seen this now for the better part of 10 or 12 years, and I've always associated it with the camera being overwhelmed by the direct sunlight associated with the view of the sun.
So I'll just summarize some of his wiggle room words that he includes in there. At 1 minute, he starts calling it the black dot, and I'd like to reference Final Days YouTube channel, where she refers to it as the black dot technology, the black dot craft. At 1 minute 13 seconds, he says it shouldn't be there. At 1 minute 57 seconds, he says it literally had to be something in front of the sun. And here at about 2 minutes 30 seconds, he conducts heart attack control. Because as you can see right here in the title, "This never used to be there," but he's trying to prevent 1,000 or so boomers per minute from having heart attacks as they see this.
the black dot in front of the sun in the sky. This is a reflection of the sun
right as
on
he
the housing
pans up.
that encases the camera. Now it zooms up into the sky.
Here we
There's
go.
The black dot
Heart attack
that we've
control.
seen, and that's not the first time we've seen that. Many, many times over the course of, like I said, a decade, if not longer. There it is. But what it's doing, it's blocking sunlight. It's not reflecting. Black doesn't reflect. Here they are side by side. Here's the sky view on the right, the reflection on the left. Got to be honest, in all of the years that I've seen this, I've never seen it appear in a reflection.
Yes, he has.
Black does not.
So, that, like I've said, he's the Disclosure Road speed limit governor and regulator. And he discloses things in a drip feed into the consciousness for the people and tries not to shock their system with information that will trigger them and throw them into shock. So as he releases this, he uses a bunch of weasel word, wiggle room words to give people, but he sets it in. He lets them know this is different. It absolutely should not be there in a reflection. It has to be literally something in front of the sun. Black does not absorb, etc., etc. But he introduces some wiggle room words like, oh, we've seen that many, many times over at least a decade or more. Oh, whew, nothing different, nothing changed then. I ain't got nothing to worry about if it's been that way for a decade or more and we've seen that many, many times. Again, at 3 minutes, 20 seconds, he says it's something in front of the sun blocking the light. At 3 minutes, 33 seconds, you can see it starting to ripple on the water in the video. And at 4 minutes, he says it should not be there. At 5 minutes, 14 seconds, he says it's optically impossible. And here I have to insert the Muse message that will be linked in the description. King of Pain by The Police. There's a little black spot on the sun today. It's the same old thing as yesterday. Oh, whew, good thing it's the same old thing as yesterday, at least for a decade or so. So the guy who sent me the picture of the light waves bouncing around his house, this is a good picture of one because you can see the top of this ridge. There's actually 3 sets. You can see one wave band going right here in the middle. Another one above it, there's the bottom of the troughs of the waves above it. And here's the ridges of the waves below it. Right here you can see some, and right there you can see some. So you can actually see 3 wave bands in this one picture. My point was the same guy that sent me these pictures sent me a text saying that he went past a tree where it was just a single tree on fire, and it had the firefighters around the tree that was on fire, just a single tree. And he's in the UK, so someone asked me the other day, are they reporting plasma fires in other countries? And I said, well, they're not reporting them here, so I assume they're happening there too, just going unreported like they are here. Here's him taking a picture into the mirror of his living room, showing these bands that are going all over. And you can see, well, maybe this, oh, my bad. This rip in the light band over here appears in this one, but I don't think it appears here unless maybe we got to zoom in to see it. No, it's not there in this case. At the top corner of the chair, there is no rip in the light band right there. Up here, there's something going on there, man. Kind of tough to see. I already went over that one earlier.